Okay, Richard, here we are. The Fife housing market, like many others, has experienced a notable shift in 2023. The percentage of home sales agreed and moved completed compared to those withdrawn from the market unsold has decreased relative to 2022. What does that mean going into 2024? Who knows? Wow, I swear that's going to give me a heart attack one of these times trying to do that. Here we are again. Listen, 2024 is going to be can it be a really good year for the Fife property market? Can it be a really poor year for the Fife property market? We're going to discuss them. We're going to drill down deep inside these numbers today. We're going to look at what's happened this year compared to what happened last year. We're going to look at the economy as it stands right now, and then we're going to forecast exactly what it will be in 2024. First of all, though, let's talk about the 6.3% saleability drop in the Fife property market impact and how that will impact the home moving plans in 2024. I mean, Richard, looking at the independent data for the Fife area, now the Fife area we know is, if anybody doesn't understand this, the Fife area is all KY postcodes. So KY 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And a wee bit of DD6, which is Tayport and Newport.
Yeah.
So in 2022, for example, did you know that 86% of properties that left the books of Fife estate agents agreed a sale, exchanged contracts, and the homeowners moved? Which meant that basically 14% didn't. So 14% were left, and that was, so this is what it is. 5,874 Fife area properties exchanged and completed versus 932 properties that withdrew from the agent's books actually unsold. That's actually quite surprising.
Yeah, that is a surprising number, actually, to say unsold at that level.
Because there was a boom market in 2022, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to be a lot more.
Interesting to see what the breakdown of that 932 are. I mean, what would be the reason behind it? That would be something that would be interesting.
That's for another day.
Yeah.
Let's look and compare it against this year in 2023.
Okay.
Right, 2023, 2022, 86% of properties that left the books of Fife estate agents agreed a sale. 2023, it's 80.6% of properties that left the books of Fife estate agents agreed a sale, exchanged contracts, and the owners moved home. That represented 4,912 properties. And here's the kicker, versus 1,186 properties withdrawn from agents' books, unsold up to the 20th of December 2023, meaning there has been a 6.3% proportional reduction in the saleability of Fife homes between 2022 and 2023. I tell you what, though, would you have expected it to be more with the doom and gloom that peddled in 2022 about the market and how it was going to transpire?
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to a lot of the media outlets and social media platforms and things, and the things that you read or are being fed, you would probably expect it to be a wee bit worse, to be honest.
So we've actually been quite off. I mean, it's interesting to compare that with Scotland region and the national statistics for both years for Scotland. So on a Scottish basis, right across Scotland, it was 81.23% of properties were exchanged and completed and moved in 2022 compared to our 86. Fife actually compared very more resilient in Scotland. And I always say that the Fife property market is extremely resilient when you compare it against Scotland overall. Because remember, Scotland's got the higher price points as well, like the Edinburgh and the Perth, places like that. Places that are a bit overheated in terms of the market itself. So no surprise there that less properties actually sold it came onto the market in the whole Scottish region compared to the Fife region. It proved straight away in 2022 the Fife property market was extremely resilient in comparison to the rest of Scotland and probably the UK as well. So compare that to 77.85% in 2023, a 4.2% drop. Nationally, 65.55% of properties were exchanged and completed. That means the UK. Now just imagine that. In Scotland, it's 80.6%. In Fife, it's 80.6%. In Scotland, it's literally 77.85%. And when you look at it on the UK, it's actually 52.39% in comparison. That is really good. That means the Fife property market is extremely resilient and extremely resourceful and very, very buoyant overall.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged about going into 2024 with these stats.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we know that the Fife property market and the way it performs and the way it's been performing, and we see it day in, day out. But it's quite good to look at these kind of statistics that really back it up and demonstrate clearly how the Fife market compares, not only just to the rest of Scotland, but like you say, on a national level as well.
Yeah, it did represent, though, year on year in the Fife property market, a 16% reduction in the number of transactions. The drop from 5,874 to 4,912. So it means 16% less transactions. Now, that is not, it's moderate and it's stable, but it's not healthy, is it?
No. Sorry, on you go.
And the reason why, and you were just about to probably answer this question, and I'm going to answer the question for you.
That's where I stopped.
Yeah, the reason why is ultimately because you need the same amount of property transactions every single year to keep everybody in a job. Because remember, it's not just houses we're selling, it's jobs we're creating, and it's jobs we're maintaining, and it's keeping all these people employed. Therefore, it's a healthy economy. When the transaction numbers drop in that proportion, just on a Fife basis, I mean, what would you say was the typical amount of money you would spend when you buy a house for the first time, and also when you go on to refurb it, on average, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, here in Fife, I mean, if you're going to buy your typical first-time buyer, 2-bedroom, semi-detached house, say, you're probably going to be anywhere around about 120, 150,000.
Yeah, and in terms of what would you spend on it though, when you go to refurb it, or when your fees and everything? So let's just say your typical fees all in £5,000. Okay, for transactional fees, just at that sort of price point, because up to 140,000 you've not got any stamp duty or anything. I know there's ADS and all the rest of it, but let's keep it simple. So there's 5,000 there. But when you move into a property, I'd be interested to hear everybody else that's watching just now and hear your comments about how much you actually spent when you bought your first property and actually you spent on refurbing it. And I mean things like carpets, decoration, kitchens, bathrooms, heating systems, rewiring, gardens, landscaping. How much do you think on average the average householder would actually spend on that then?
Yeah, if you're talking about kitchens, bathrooms, decor, the lot, you're 25,000.
Okay, so let's just say, for argument's sake, we're 20,000 all in. Let's just bring it right down to 15. Because 15 is an easy number, because 5 for the transactional fees, 10,000 maybe for the refurb. Because remember, not everybody's going to refurb their property. There's going to be a lot of people that actually move in for the first time. It's going to be a brand new property. It's going to be ready to go, or they're going to do it as they go. So just say 15,000 all in. So if you have 962 transactions of a reduction, multiply it by 15,000. That means there's literally 14.4 million less turnover in the economic market of Fife. And that means 14 million less in terms of money going to people like, I mean, nobody cares about estate agents, to be honest, but let's go to estate agents, go to mortgage brokers, going to banks, people working in banks, going to joiners, going to carpet fitters, going to painters and decorators, going to electricians, going to plumbers. So there's £14 million worth of turnover less now than 2022 to 2023 on an average of 15,000 spent per property refurbing and transactional fees. And Fife alone, 14 million less. Now that's going to hurt somebody's pocket, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, and like you say, Jim, it's not just estate agents, it has a knock-on effect, obviously, with mortgage providers, banks, also all those trades and industry and things that help people turn things around when they do purchase properties, like contractors and things as well. So there's a big gap there. And I think maybe that could, if we look at those figures and the decline for last year to this year, obviously, we're just about the tail end of 23. So we're still in 23. That could raise concerns among people in Fife, if it's homeowners or potential sellers and things as well. And I think it's important with us as agents to observe these kind of trends closely and offer insight into obviously this kind of phenomenon, or have strategies to enhance your home's saleability throughout the year to come. And that all comes back to understanding that dip in the saleability in Fife. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, economic influences are really a big one for me. Economic influences, here's the ones that you've got to think about. Inflation.
Yeah.
Unemployment level. Bank base rates. And probably, these are the top three for me that you've got to think about, understanding what the dip in saleability in Fife is and the economic influences it will impact that for 2024 as well. But the one as well to watch out for is wage negotiation. It's how much more year on year is the salaries actually increasing year on year, and is that outpacing inflation? That's a real key indicator to watch out for. So my thought process, inflation is coming down comfortably, a comfortable level, quite a dramatic level actually. Comparing, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, you're at double digits. Now all of a sudden we're down at about 3.9, 3.6 or wherever it is. Somebody could maybe correct me on that if you've got the at-hand information, but I know it's below 4. So inflation is now below at the 3 level, or thereabouts, about 3.9. And they're still saying it's about double what it was meant to be. But there was no surprise that the government actually said in the beginning, it's like, if we can get inflation down to 5 by the end of the year, we'll be quids in. So they've got way below that.
It's below that, yeah.
The key driver, though, for inflation right now, though, and the reason it's come down so dramatically, is we all know at prices at the petrol pump. They've gone below 150 a litre. Used to say 150 a gallon, eh? That's a lot of years ago. I remember when it was 33 pence a gallon in Blair Athol, and the Suez Canal crisis came along, and overnight it went to 66 pence a gallon. When I was just a wee lad, I remember it. My dad was going, "Oh my God, double the amount of money to fill my tank," just because of that crisis, and it's never recovered. That's the key indicator. It's driven inflation down right now, because food inflation in comparison to the rest of Europe in Britain is still a lot higher at 9.2% on that underlying figure. So if you strip it down, petrol prices have brought it down. But there's in the Red Sea right now, the carry on it's going on with the pirates, and actually, basically trying to get a hold of the tankers when they're going through the Suez, through the Red Sea and into the Suez. They're having to go round by the Cape on the bottom of Africa.
They're having to go down around the bottom of Africa, yeah.
So is that going to drive petrol prices back up? That's one to watch out for, because that's the key indicator that's driving inflation down so low just now. Now, what's going to happen out of that is if that does drive petrol prices back up, inflation will probably be driven back up, because food inflation is not going to be solved overnight. We import most of our food. We don't home grow a lot of stuff. It's all imported from Europe. There's a big difference here, whereas a lot of people in Europe rely on their own food chain. They don't have a huge reliance on other people in importing. So they export quite a lot and we import quite a lot in comparison. Therefore, its food inflation is expected to stay probably a bit higher, and that's the only thing that's probably going to influence it after that, because I think petrol prices have actually done their distance now, and I can't see them coming down any further because of that reason. So there's inflation spoken about. Unemployment. Let's talk about base rates first. Base rates have been the only mechanism that the Bank of England has used to curb inflationary pressure. In other words, they've deliberately moved base rates up to make it more expensive for people to borrow money, or people with existing borrowings, they have to pay back more, therefore taking more money out of their pocket. Therefore, they've got less chance of spending that on goods and services, which causes inflation, supply and demand. So that's where it is right now. So if inflation doesn't drop anymore and it stays where it is, or it goes up a bit again, then they're more likely to see base rates staying at 5.25, even could possibly go up to 5.5. Now, that could create a lot of turmoil. So we've got to watch out for that one. Equally, if that continues at base rates at 5.25%, most businesses that have borrowed money will be paying a lot more. As a result, they'll have to look next year to possibly even cut their costs in order to generate more profit. Because we all know the cost of living's gone higher, and materials and resources and labour as well. That's why I talked about wage negotiations is quite important as well. Labour costs have gone up as well in these companies. Therefore, the one thing these companies go for every single time to cut costs quickly is what, Richard?
The companies to cut costs quickly, and what they go for first would be the labour.
Yeah, headcount, definitely. Redundancy. Redundancy, pay people off, we don't need them anymore, we'll have to cut back. It's not as much. See, there's the classic example, the small businesses, 14 million taking out the economy locally in Fife, just as a result of transactional numbers dropping year on year in terms of the Fife property market, in terms of house sales. Therefore, they've got to then make up £14 million. Now, effectively, they're not doing that supply. They've not got the resources to do that anymore. So they're saving on the material because they're not spending money to get the 14 million in the first place. But also, they've still got all these inherent costs, like labour costs, like maybe additional vans that they've had to take on, maybe tools and services, maybe additional contractors or subbies that they've had to take on as well. So they have to lay these people off. Therefore, another one to watch out for is unemployment levels going to creep up? Now, historically, they're at a very low level right now. They're at something like 4.2%, which is historically extremely low, and which under economic terms, if you read most economic books, is between 4 and 6% is classified as a full employment economy. Now, you could say, but, well, wait a minute, there's 4% unemployed. Well, it's assumed, though, that the 4% unemployed, which represents around about 1 million, is 1 million people looking to chase, which is effectively 1 million jobs in the market like right now. There is about there's probably less jobs in the market than there is people chasing them right now, which again fuels wage negotiation. It puts it higher because people want to pay more money to retain the existing skill and also to poach from other companies as well. So that's the key indicators to watch out for: is inflation, what's it going to do? Unemployment level, what's it going to do? Base rates, what's it going to do? And also wage negotiations. This is why the government's adamant that they've got to get inflation under control and they've got to get wage negotiations under control, because one fuels the other. There's a direct correlation between the both of them. They level off on each other. They work on each other, definitely. So the factors that affected buyer these are factors also affect buyer affordability and leading to effectively a more cautious approach to house purchasing.
I was just going to say that'll make people a lot more cautious when they're looking at house purchases and what their spending power is and what they then set out to buy. So it definitely does make people a lot more cautious.
Yeah. Dave goes on to say, Dave's actually quite good at this. The infrastructure of housing is so rarely understood. It's why the connectivity of the whole is so important. Absolutely nailed it, David, there. And that's what we're talking about. It's not really the house value. It's important. It's the transactional numbers to assess how healthy the property market is overall and how that will affect everything else outside of that and the knock-on effect in the big picture. So one of the other things it could affect in understanding the dip in saleability in Fife is probably market saturation in buyers in the buyer's market. You know, what did we see in 2023 in Richard?
Yeah, definitely, like you say, a buyer's market. In 2023, the last year, saw a surge of properties in Fife on the market. And this increased and changed the Fife property market from a strong seller's market previously to a balanced market, or even a buyer's market, to be fair, because there was quite a lot of oversaturation of available property. And in some parts of Fife, and that ran throughout the last year, 2023, where the availability of choice led to the more selective purchasing behaviour that we see.
Yeah, we saw that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Now, what do we mean by that? Well, everything up to about 100 and 150 is right. It was still a seller's market because it's still very popular. There's still lots of first-time buyers out there, according to Zoopla as well, chasing that. And there's still a lot of people chasing these types of properties as well because they're extremely affordable because of the price point. Everything up to 200,000 to maybe 300,000, you're getting into a balanced market effectively. And then when you're getting beyond 300,000 to the 350 and beyond, you're starting to creep into the buyer's market because the affordability levels are a lot more for people. Therefore, your market for number of buyers begins to limit and begins to drop. It's the typical market in triangle. Lots of customers at the bottom price point where it's low in price. But then as you go up, your customers begin to decline because the price of the property goes up as well at the same time. Therefore, affordability is more challenging for people. And this is because mortgage holders as well, especially, if you can only afford £1,000 a month, effectively at the beginning of the year, you were able to afford a higher mortgage at £1,000 a month affordability than you are now towards the end of this year because base rates and interest rates and mortgage rates have gone up as well.
Yeah.
As a result, I mean, beginning of the year, you were getting a mortgage, 5-year fixed rate deal, probably about 2.5% for a 5-year fixed rate. Now you get a 5-year fixed rate deal, you're probably double that. So therefore, affordability for that price point at the higher range is actually gone down, and that's made it difficult, and there's less buyers in that market. Hence the reason why it makes it a buyer's market, because there's a lot more properties on the market for sale at these price points at the higher level. So this then leads to the change in the buyer preferences. In the Fife, for example, buyer preferences has actually evolved. But there's a growing demand for properties which offer flexible living spaces, I would say. Energy efficiency is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like you say, the flexible living spaces is something that come in on the other side of lockdown, or while lockdown was made us all appreciate, obviously, the living spaces that we have, including the outside space. And then energy efficiency, because obviously of utility bills and things as well, has made people so much more energy efficient conscious. So they're looking for properties that's going to cost them less to run in terms of what's the energy efficiency rating. Is it quite energy efficient? Is my heating system, is it insulated? Is it this? And if not, I'm going to have to spend X amount to get to that level to save myself money in the long term. So energy efficiency is a really good thing. But it's something that's on everybody's mind.
Modern amenities, and then that means basically that it's not all available homes will actually meet that criteria, will they?
No, and modern amenities, you're right, and obviously, and leaving and things we see, like obviously the train stations coming in, that's going to have a positive effect because people will be able to just jump on the train and into Edinburgh or wherever. Do you know things close by like that?
It'll be interesting to see and measure that over a period of time, how the leaving, because it's KY8 for leaving completely, so it's an easy one to track over a year on year how that price will change on average in the leave mouth area.
And that's going to be here come April. I think April time they're planning for it to be
spring.
Open. So.
Spring. You know what's going to happen with that, eh? The spring in anybody's terms. Let me just check where what season is spring, what dates are spring. What dates are spring? So what dates are spring?
Is it March, April, May?
Yeah, it's March the 11th, or something to that effect. To May or June possibly. So while we think spring as in everything's going to appear in spring, it's like we're thinking March.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more like June.
Right. Okay. Which is the summer.
But then that's okay. I mean, we've effectively waited. We've waited effectively. 1966, the train station was shut. Literally when I was born. It was no because I was born, by the way. The train station was shut in 1966. They never says, "Oh God, Jim's been born. We better shut the train station." So you've got 2000 to 2004. You've got 40 years, and then effectively 60 years.
But I think that the schedule
60
that they're
years, 60. I should have worked out. I'm 57. I should have
Yeah.
just thought 60 years rather than actually try to tally that up. It's like 96 when I was born. It was shut. Like I'm 57. That's about 60 years. Anyway, but that'll be interesting to see what that transpires with the train station.
But their original schedule, I think they're ahead of their original schedule for having that open. So
I would be interested. I tell you what, I will be interested to see over the years is how it transforms Aberhill.
Yeah.
Because Aberhill is, a challenge. It's always been a challenge price point, but it's literally right next to the train station, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people don't get this, because Aberhill's right next to the train station. It will be, but it's also right next to the high street. It's next to the swimming pool and the sports facilities. It's next to the retail park. It's next to the bus station. It's easy commuting out of there to get away, onto the A915 and away. So it's very accessible for everything. You just walk down the hill from your house. The only reason I know that is because I lived there. I lived in Carnarchy Crescent. I lived in Taylor Street. Over a period of time in the past, and I thought it was a brilliant place for locality. And I thought, if a train station appears here at some point in the future, this is going to be a really desirable location. It's going to take a few years to change over that, but it'll be interesting to see in the next 15 to 20 years. I will still be here, by the way.
I didn't expect you were going anywhere, Jim.
In the next 15 to 20 years, how that affects prices in the Aberhill area. Because I think Aberhill is probably one of the most prime areas to actually shoot up in value over the coming years because of its location at the train station. It is literally, that and Dubbyside are literally the only places is so close to it outside of there. There's no other, because if you go the other side, you've got the high street and everything like that. You've got the retail park, and your housings are way beyond there. So literally, that's the closest location to the train station.
Yeah. So the train station and things all fall into obviously the local economic and social factors and things that have an influence on saleability as well. And Fife's local economic and social developments, like the train station and things like that, will have a positive effect. Also on the like if we look at job market shifts and how the job market is in the local area.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Community developments. These are all things that will have played and will play a role in influencing the housing market dynamics in the years ahead.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as well to see how it affects tourism, because tourism is a big thing. I know we're on a downer now. It's like, oh, the high street, another shop closing and all the rest of it. And that's the same with Kirkcaldy. Hey, listen, it's not unique. It's in Kirkcaldy, it's in Cooper. Cooper's opened a retail park up the top, and some of the high street shops are now actually struggling as a result of that because it's taking footfall away. So it's a sign of the times. Online shopping is becoming more and more popular. It's becoming easier for online shopping for people to get things instantly, almost the next day, if not the same day. So this is what people have to, this is what shopkeepers, what business owners have to compete with in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they're delivering it in order to stay completely relevant overall, which will help the local economy. Again, as I say, I think personally, local business and local people running their local businesses and operating their own retail shops and everything like that, and their own plumbers and joiners and all the rest of it, is the lifeblood of a local economy.
Yeah.
For me personally, the worst thing ever is having a corporate come in, because a corporate comes in and basically raids the coffers, because all that money gets pumped in that corporate with all the sales, and then it goes away out the area to a dividend shareholder who has nothing to do with the area at all.
Yeah.
And that's my concern, is more and more times we try to attract these people and the impression that we're going to get more tourism. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but who's benefiting overall? And it's a fine balancing act in order to get that, balance between the two of them. You're on a double-edged sword, more or less. If you get it wrong, a lot of money could leave the local economy and actually not get put back in, and that's what you need.
It's the classic thing, like in Leaving, for example, Starbucks and things, it's all come in, and that's an attractive thing. But where is that money actually going? Because all the local coffee shops are struggling because of it. Do you know? Just as an example.
And then the classic example is they argue that it's like, but we're creating jobs. It's like, well, you're not really, because there's only a finite market for cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're shutting a local trader's business to, in other words, to open your corporate business.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Politicians look at it differently, you see. They just want to create jobs all the time. It's like, as long as they create jobs, oh, we're creating jobs. Oh, okay, but you're losing jobs over here as a result of that. Just my take on things.
No, I would agree. But I think, obviously, talking about the year ahead, 2024 and things, and obviously the change in the market and things, we're going to talk about some tips, and we've got 6 tips for maximising your Fife homes saleability in the year to come, 2024.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Fife properties are still selling. There's no doubt about that. Yet, not at the rate they were in 2021 and 2022, as we've just seen.
Yeah, we just
So
that. Yeah.
just over 16 out of 20 Fife people in 2023 have sold and moved. That's the 80.6% figure mentioned above. But if you want to avoid being the 4 out of the 20 who were unable to sell and move this year, there are some things that you can do to start the cards in your favour, definitely. I mean, you know, we talk about the highest price point and not selling all the rest of it, but we've just sold that one in Carden Place for over 550,000 in St Andrews.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody looked at that and thought, there's no way you're going to get that figure for it. You're absolutely right. We didn't get that figure. We got more.
More. Yeah, I know. And then that comes down to, obviously, and we were saying it would be interesting to know whether what the actual reasons were for this percentage of ones that didn't sell. Was there a reason behind it? And it might not. It might be down to your agent strategy. Do they have the right strategy in place?
I think you've nailed it. You've nailed it completely, Richard. It's all about the estate agent strategy or lack of strategy in some occasions for some of them. Here's a classic example. The strategic pricing.
Okay.
Understanding the Fife market is critical here. Homes priced correctly from the outset are more likely to attract serious buyers. This requires a deep understanding of the local market trends, something a knowledgeable estate agent can provide. Here's a wee top tip if you're going to be listing with an estate agent. Make sure your price point is bang on the split point on Rightmove and Zoopla and other websites. Now, what do I mean by the split point? What do I mean by the split pricing point? So when you search on Zoopla, and well, let's get an example up. Let me get this up and let me show people this. I'll get a separate window up and we'll put Zoopla up.
Okay.
I will put Rightmove because Rightmove seems to be a popular one for people.
Yeah, I think Zoopla is sometimes a better. It's a better point of reference, but I think obviously everybody goes to Rightmove first.
Yeah, let's have a look at this. I'll bring it up then. I'll share the screen. We'll get it up in a minute. Here we go. Here's Rightmove. Right. Okay. Share the screen. So here's Rightmove right here. Okay. Now you're going, for example, to look in. Let's just say Anstruther.
Yep.
So Anstruther Fife. We click on Anstruther Fife. We do for sale. The first thing that comes up is this split point. This is what people see. Okay. So people see this here overall, and what they're seeing is this price point. See here, there's the split point. There's all the points that you want to make sure you're on a marker if you're starting out. If you've got a property and the for example, it's valued at 100, just say 135,000. Okay.
Okay.
If it's got 135,000, you want to make sure you've put your sale on 130. As the asking price in the beginning.
Okay.
I personally, I wouldn't be going for 135,000 off the bat because the 130 is the split point here. See, it goes up 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 125, 130. These are all the price bandings you should be hitting. Because what happens is when somebody searches up to that from 130 to 150, if you're on 149,500, or 149,950, everybody will see you up to that price point, the 150. No one will see you from 150 onwards, which is here. They've missed you completely. So you're not getting the benefit of straddling 2 price points. This is why you have to make sure you're there. So when you're at a higher price point for a property, for example, if you're getting a home report at probably 430,000, you want to make sure you're putting your sale on at 425. Because
Right.
425 is the split point there.
Yeah.
On the prices. See that? It goes from 400, 425, 450, 475. So you want to make sure you put 425.
Where are you seeing that, Jim? That wasn't shown on the screen there, I don't think.
Oh, that's no showing. Right, okay, yeah. It's a drop-down menu. It doesn't show. It's obviously not shown on the screen here. The drop-down menu
I missed it
goes
the first
down.
time, but yeah, the drop-down is
and you get a choice. So let me just go. So you see the numbers changing: 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, and so on and so forth. It goes up in 10,000 bandings till it gets to 170. Then it goes to 175 for some reason there. And then it goes again to 180, 190, 200. And then it goes to 210. It goes to 220. It goes to 225. No, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 300. Then when it gets to 300, here's the key here. It starts to jump by 25,000. So you're 300, and then your next one's 325. See that there?
Yeah, I see that.
And your next one after that's 350. So if you're getting a home report at 340, ideally, I would think you could try it at 340 for the first couple of weeks. But if you're not getting a bite, I would straddle on the 325 mark. I would be realigning at 325.
You have to come down at 325.
Because the 325 will go over across two audiences. It will go everybody up to 325. So in other words, when somebody's searching there, you've got maybe 300 to 290 or 270. 270 to 325, see that?
Yep.
And then when somebody comes to 325, they maybe go 325, and then they maybe go up to 375. So then you straddle that audience as well. So in the first audience, you look at the highest price point because you're up at 325. And the second audience, you're actually the lowest, which makes you extremely attractive. But you're getting both sides. You're not missing any audience here because you're getting both sides of that. That's the key out of this. That's what you have to be. That is the key, because you're straddling the two price point bandings, the price point banding, and you're on both point blank. You're getting both sides of you're getting the benefits of both. You're the highest price point, but you're also the lowest price point when everybody searches from then on. Therefore, you've got a bigger audience to choose from your property overall. If your agent is pricing it $999, you know, the typical example, 995, 950, 500, or anything like that, if they're doing it 500 band and stuff like that, they have no idea what they're doing now. They are going on pre-internet strategies, which went out with the ARC. That's quill and ink. That's a solicitor thing. That went out with quill and ink years ago. That is an old, outdated strategy. If you're a estate agent still doing that, you don't even choose them. Don't even consider them for that reason. That's probably one of the answers. That's probably one of the questions you have to ask your estate agent. So if my valuation is going to be at this price in terms of the home report, what would you suggest my price went on it, and see what they say? Because that's a classic, right? You're a estate agent, you're at 180 grand, you get a home report for maybe 330,000, okay? You ask your estate agent straight away, so what would you suggest you put my property on if it was a home report of 330,000? If they say 325, they know exactly why. You could ask them, well, why do you suggest 325? And then they would suggest, well, it's right at the price point where it splits from 325 to 350 and 300 to 325 on the internet. That's when you'll know they know what they're talking about. Yeah. So that's how you catch your estate agent out. It has an old pre-internet strategy in terms of understanding what strategic pricing is all about.
Yeah.
Tailoring to buyer preferences is a really good one as well. This is why we do video. This is key here, because this tailors to our buyer preferences. Aligning your Fife home, in other words, you're selling it, we're aligning it exactly with the current trends. So we're talking about your property as in comparison, in alignment with the current trends that are going on right now. Now, this could mean investing in creating flexible home working spaces, upgrading energy systems, modernising key areas like kitchens and bathrooms. We could point all that out. That's not easy to point that out. Nobody wants to read a War and Peace essay of exactly what your property is, because they're on a snooze fest about 2 minutes in.
Yeah.
But everybody likes to have a walkthrough, and they like somebody telling them what it is to them and why they should want to live there, all the key benefits. However, before you start spending tens of thousands of pounds on this, please pick up the phone or message us direct on these posts, and we'll give you your best advice first before you start that journey. I've seen people spend tens of thousands of pounds on a property and walk in and thought to myself, you ain't ever going to get on the market now.
You didn't need to do that.
30,000 in the kitchen. It's like, my God, you're joking. You're not going to get that back. Your property at £30,000 on your kitchen is effectively about a fifth of your property. Nobody does that.
No.
So you're not going to get that back at all. So that's why it's important to pick up the phone and get the best advice about your property first in Fife before you actually consider putting it on the market. I mean, I've lost count how many times I've seen other people do this and spend money on the wrong things without the proper advice, only to find the money spent actually did do nothing for the value of their home, and it didn't make it any more saleable than it was before. In fact, sometimes it actually made it less saleable because it pushed it up so high in the price point that they lost an audience already that they could have got. Now, you know yourself, when you go beyond 250, if you spend £30,000, £40,000 on your property that's sitting on the 250 banding right now, you're pushing it up to 300,000 worth. And if you're pushing it to 300,000, you're starting to lose your audience quicker because of interest rates and base rates and mortgages and where they are right now in terms of financing. You've got a finite market, so that's where you've got to get the advice of a proper estate agent.
Yeah, I think if you've got any estate agent or things working for you, and they're not advising you of this ahead of the game, or if they're in there early enough, that you don't need to be spending X amount, or this is what you should do. And this, I mean, that's the kind of advice you're looking for, to make sure that you're spending money in the right places if you need to, and if not, then we're marketing without having to go down that
Again,
road.
Another question you should exactly ask your estate agent. You know, is there anything about my house unique that you could actually would be beneficial to the buyers out there? See, this is all about testing the estate agent's knowledge and expertise and their experience and their wisdom. And and effectively their common sense as well. But we all know the thing about common sense is not that common in most people.
It's not, unfortunately. But it's the same, Jim. I mean, I get it in lettings quite a lot, and we get it in sales. And that is part of what we do. People come to us to say, can you tell me what I need to do here in order to have this ready for the market? And what should I be spending? What should I not be spending? And that's just what we do. But a lot of agents won't and think it's not part of what they do. And if that's the mindset, then there's something wrong there.
So here's tip number 3. Effective marketing. Not advertising. Advertising is putting it on Rightmove. Marketing is what you say on Rightmove. That's the key. Advertising is putting it on a website. Marketing is how you deliver that. What are you saying in that in that literature? What are you saying in the photographs? What does the photograph say? What does your virtual tour say? What does your property tour say? What does your walkthrough say? Well, we know what it says because we say it when we're going round. That's the key here. That's why it does. That leverages your online social media as well and your portals as a result, because you get upgraded straight away because you're doing a talk, which is very engaging to an audience, as opposed to a silent movie, which is just effectively a video with music. You may as well just stick to the pictures if that's the case, because that's all they're getting. It's not telling them anything about the area. It's not telling them anything what the benefit of the property would be. It's not telling them if it's got anything new, or there's any improvements, or there's any wonderful view. It doesn't tell them anything like that at all. A proper video talk-up walkthrough does. As experts in the Fife property market, we can target the correct demographic as well on social media and present your home in its best light. In other words, we'll get back in front of the right audience. Why do you think you're watching this right now? It's not by chance. It's deliberate. This is also when you prepare for viewings. So when we're preparing for viewings, Richard, first impressions matter, definitely. You do get a second chance to make a good first impression, by the way, and that's another story. But we can tell you all about that. So ensure your Fife home is well presented, clean, decluttered. Listen, if it's a challenge for you, because you've got loads of kids, and you've got a big family and all the rest of it, and you've got all your stuff from Christmas, then we'll tell you exactly what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, and where you should be putting it. We can offer that personal advice. This is what it's all about. It's not about selling your house. It's getting you from A to B in the least stressful way possible, in the most effective, efficient manner, while delivering a price at the end. It's acceptable to you. That's the whole point. And a win-win situation for you and for the buyer, because you definitely want that, because that gets you more money at the end of the day. Flexibility and negotiation is probably the other one, Richard. What about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to you need to be prepared to negotiate and show some flexibility in things when you're obviously when you're arranging viewings and times and conditions of sales. You know, it's really important. You could have the right buyer there, but they might just need a little bit of flexibility on the time scale of the sale and things. And obviously, it depends on your current situation. Everybody's different individually. But if you've got that ability to make a wee bit leeway and flexibility, you could secure a really good sale and get a really good price from the right buyer. If you're quite not prepared to negotiate or be flexible, then sometimes you could lose a really good buyer. And that approach could make your property a lot more appealing to people compared to others that are on the market, because there's flexibility there within the sale progression and the time scale and things as well.
This is where it's key when you're delivered an offer from your estate agent out there. You know, when you're on the market and your estate agent comes to you with an offer, they don't just say to you, "This is what we've got. What do you want to do?"
Yeah,
that is not negotiation.
and
that is letting you do it. That's letting you do it. If that's what your estate agent does, that's letting you do it. You're negotiating. You've just paid them to do it yourself, effectively.
Yeah.
Your estate agent should be giving the right advice in order and based on facts. In other words, what is the market like right now for your type of property? How many buyers are actually interested in your property right now? What other activity is going on in the background for your property? And then that should give you a really good idea about whether you should accept, reject, or ask for more money. These are only three things that you need to do in negotiation. But how you deliver it with your buyer and how your estate agent says it to your buyer is key and fundamental in getting the right deal for you overall.
Yeah, and a good agent should be able to demonstrate to you why maybe being a bit flexible or whatever, or negotiating that on your behalf will benefit you, and do an all round kind of, the buyer and the seller are both happy. You've married that together. You've made that whole experience good for everybody, and everybody got what they wanted. The buyer got the property they wanted for the price that they wanted to pay, and the seller got the property sold for the price that they wanted to sell it for.
Yeah. So that's what I think. That's what I think key is. How is your estate agent going to deliver it to you? How are they going to be flexible? How are they negotiating on your behalf? A key information in here, a great one to test your estate agent about negotiation. If you say to your estate agent, "Are you flexible on that price?" when they quote their fees, and they go, "Yeah, I could come and go with that straight away." That's not the estate agent for you.
That's how they're going to do with your sale. Well,
because that's what they're going to do with your price with the buyer.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Wait a minute, they've just told you your price, and you've immediately said to them, "Can you come and go with that?" And they've gone, "Yeah, I could drop that, no bother." It's like, wait a minute, what type of negotiation tactic is that from an estate agent if they're just going to drop their drawers at the first offer?
Yeah.
That's exactly what they do with your house, by the way, when they go to negotiate on your behalf, or not negotiate on your behalf and just deliver you an offer that you think's actually out of this world, but they've actually not done any work for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite interesting. And I only know that by experience because I've used a lot of estate agents over the years. I think the sixth one for me is capitalizing on local knowledge is probably key here. I mean, Fife's unique charm and amenities should always be highlighted. I get ribbed for it every single time. Is it near the Fife Coastal Path? It comes up in every single conversation. But I tell you what, that Fife Coastal Path sells your house. It sells the lifestyle that somebody from out the area wants to have, because there's no doubt about it. It is absolutely glorious next to that sea on a beautiful sunny day when it's nice and calm. Even on a bad day, even on a bad day, what you consider to be a bad day is actually a good day anyway. because it's just it's the rush of the fresh air, it's the birds, it's the, you get a wee mouse running past you now and again when you're walking along the path, and it's that engagement with nature overall. It makes the Fife Coastal Path such an endearing tourism attraction in the area. But it's also, where is your property in relation to things like the schools? What is the local catchment area for the schools? How good is the schools? What is your property in relation to the local amenities? Where's the restaurants? Where's the bistros? Where's the cafes? Where can we go for something? Where's the local pub? These are all the lifestyle attractions that people want to buy your property for. They know it's got 3 bedrooms. They know it's a semi-detached because they've clicked on it already. They've read the literature. They don't need to know any more. What they want to know is, why would I want to buy this property? That is the question an estate agent needs to answer. Why do I want to buy your property? Why should I buy your property? That's what your estate agent should be answering in the mind of the buyer. And that's why video talk-up is so important.
Yeah, I think the video talk-up as well, especially when you've got that local knowledge incorporated in that, but you also speak from experience. Obviously, we're quite familiar with the Fife Coastal Path and things that Fife's got to offer, depending on where you are in certain areas of Fife. And so you're selling that lifestyle to them as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that's definitely, you have to capitalize on that. So just to summarize that, I mean, I think it's all about strategic planning. It's all about tailoring to your buyer preferences, effective marketing, preparing for viewings, flexibility in negotiation, and also capitalizing on that local knowledge. I think the capitalizing on local knowledge is key to get everything else right.
Yeah.
If you've got an agent and knows exactly what your area is like and knows exactly what to sell to a prospective buyer and why they should be wanting to move into that area, into that house in particular, then your quid's in. They're worth their weight in gold. And they will deliver a price which is way beyond what any other estate agent can achieve as a result of their knowledge and expertise in terms of what they're doing. But there's no doubt in the decrease in saleability rate in Fife reflects the broader economic trends and evolving buyer preferences clearly here. However, I think with the right approach and the strategies, selling your home in 2024 can be a realistic and successful endeavour overall. By understanding the Fife property market, for example, pricing strategy, aligning buyers' preferences, utilising effective marketing presentation techniques, you can significantly enhance your chances of successful sale and a price that you cannot refuse. That's what the key is here, to get you a price you cannot refuse if the buyer's in a position to proceed. And I think as Fife property experts, Richard, we offer more than just transactional advice. I think that's key here. There's no surprise when you go on our website, it says helping you manage life as it happens. And that's particularly for an exact reason, because it's not just about selling your house. It's about understanding your needs, understanding what you want us to achieve, and helping the buyer do the same thing as well, understanding their needs and what they want to achieve, so we can marry up each other to a win-win situation where both walk away with the transaction and the deal that they wanted in the first place, if not a wee bit more and a wee bit better.
Yeah, I think as well, I mean, we've demonstrated it today. We've spoke about, obviously, some of the stats. We've spoke about the local area. We've spoke about things that really, insights and things that we provide to our clients, things on a one-to-one basis that really make the local Fife market tick. And that's the most important thing.
Definitely. And that's us. Any questions to anybody else later on, please feel free to put them in the comments. Thanks very much for coming on the show. Until next time, guys, it's bye-bye from us.
See you later.